Come on in. We're doing this live on Periscope, live on YouTube, and hopefully we'll get some good commentary going here. So we're going to be talking about drugs, the drug war, prohibition, decriminalization, legalization, and all of that. Hey, James, first comment of the broadcast over on Periscope. Just making sure we're all connected here. Looks good. Okay. Love is a drug, you love drugs. Okay, interesting comments coming in already. Good. I'm glad we're here. Welcome to A Moment in Time with Taylor. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you to everyone that makes this channel possible. Hey there, Melanie. Medication or illegal? Yeah, so those are two different kinds, right? And even the drugs within those two categories are all very different from each other. So we can get into that. Hey there, Victoria. How are you? Hey, Josh. Hi. Good to see you. Good to see you. So my apologies. I was expecting to have a special guest for this segment, and I don't think that's happening. I did tell them that if I'm still live when they are ready, they can come on in, but I did tell you guys it would be at 9 o'clock. So I wanted to make sure I at least go live at this time when I said I would and talk about this subject, which I actually quite like talking about. And I didn't realize that I did really until I read this book. Hey, Ben. Hi, how are you? Which is called Chasing the Scream, The First and Last Days of the War on Drugs by Johann Hari, who you may have heard me talk about before. He also wrote a book called Lost Connections, which I think is a really interesting book about depression and anxiety. And although I don't agree with every single one of Mr. Hari's solutions to some of these problems that he talks about in his books, I really enjoy his style of journalism. He's a British journalist, and how he kind of compiles different data from different sources. And really, for this book, just this book, I think he went to, I want to say it was 10 or more countries, but it was definitely a handful, if not 10 plus countries that he went to just to study the drug war. How are different countries handling the drug war? Is there a drug war in all these countries? What are the different countries doing differently, and what type of results are they getting? So we're going to talk about all of that. Thank you, Chloe, for the Super Hearts, first Super Hearts of the broadcast. Thank you for asking, Ben. My day was awesome. How are your guys' days? Where are you tuning in from? How's the signal, especially if you're on an Android phone? Hi, Lou. Angela, yeah, that's a perfect emoji reaction there. I was at the beach earlier, so that's kind of why my hair is a little crazy. I didn't have time to dry it after taking a shower because I wanted to make sure I was here at 9. And yeah, I needed to stuff food in my mouth and take a shower and rinse all the sand off before I could come live here with you guys. So we made it. We're here. I had an amazing day. I love the beach, as many of you know, so I'm in a great mood. All right, so Daniel just says drugs are bad. Okay, so you think all drugs are bad across the board, or just illegal drugs, or are there specific drugs you view as bad, or you think everything? Interesting. So Chris makes an interesting point about chocolate being a drug. So it's interesting how drugs, as we classically think of them, what sound did my tongue just make, are something that actually works with our body's chemistry and causes an effect. It triggers our body to release certain hormones and to feel a certain way. So foods, and sugar in particular, is actually categorized as somewhat of a drug. It has a similar effect. And there are certainly people who are addicted to food, have eating addictions and issues with food, just like happens with drugs. And I think there's a lot of different kind of perceptions on these issues, and I wanted to bring this to the surface and kind of have an open conversation. If you guys have an interesting perspective on this, let me know, and maybe I'll have you on to share a little bit of your perspective, and then we'll go back to this. So yep, see, I see some food. Thank you. Yeah. Caffeine is highly addictive. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. So there are legal drugs. There are legal drugs that are regulated by pharmacists and doctors and physicians. And then there are drugs like caffeine that are in coffee and tea and Red Bull and energy drinks and little pills you can get over the counter that are still regulated by the FDA, but not really considered you don't need a prescription for it. I'll put it that way. Caffeine, sugar, yep. Nicotine and alcohol, highly addictive and legal. Yeah, regulated, but legal. Some are good, some are bad. Okay, so this is kind of a seeing both sides of the story. So what do you guys think about the drug war in particular? Do you think the drug war, if you had to really generalize it, good or bad? Is it good to fight a war on drugs and try to eradicate drugs from the surface of the earth? Or is that a bad thing? Has it had more adverse outcomes than the drugs themselves if they were freely allowed or accessible or available, would that be less harmful? Because I think we're all pretty well aware, and we probably don't need to spend tons of time talking about the potential for danger in drug use and drug abuse. Drug abuse in particular is the dangerous part, when people become addicted, when they need the drug to get through the day, when they feel an overwhelming compulsion to use the drug rather than to use it, and have control over it. It starts to control them. And there's interesting perspectives too on how much of that addiction is actually physical in nature. I think a lot of us think of addiction like a chemical addiction. We're addicted to the chemical. We need it, like nicotine, like we need a certain amount to keep us at this base level. And it's an actual physical hormonal connection and chemical reaction in our body. But there's also a huge psychological component to addiction as well. I often hear people say that marijuana is not addictive, or cannabis, weed is not addictive. And maybe it's not physiologically addictive. I'm not sure. But I know that I smoked it every day for a long time, and I had an extremely hard time quitting it. I was certainly addicted to that drug. It was a habitual pattern that was almost, it was very challenging. It wasn't impossible, but it was very challenging to break that pattern. And I had really bad symptoms, physical symptoms in terms of dreams. I had really weird, messed up dreams for months. And there were so many times I would wake up from these weird nightmarish type dreams and just be like, I just want to smoke weed, because if I smoke weed, those dreams will go away. So I have my own little experience with addiction. I call it little because it wasn't like, it didn't ruin my life. It kind of sucked when I went through it. I wouldn't want to have to go through that again. It's not like, but weed is not a drug that gets known as being a highly addictive drug, but it's also kind of, I think, perpetuated in the other extreme where it's like, oh, it's completely harmless. I think anything has the potential for harm if you become dependent upon it, or you, when you come to a point where you can't stop doing something, no matter what it is. Maybe it's shopping or spending your money, or so it's not necessarily a drug at all. There are these, it's dopamine. A lot of we're searching for feelings of happiness, euphoria, stress relief, calm, and as we search for these experiences, sometimes we try to get there in the wrong ways, or in ways that are ineffective, that could potentially harm us. I shouldn't say wrong. I don't actually personally, I haven't really shared my personal opinion yet. So let me see what you say. You don't find alcohol addicting. Nicotine, yes. So that's interesting. Alcohol is, they call it in, I think, Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, your drug of choice. I think that's where that term comes from. What is your drug of choice? So yeah, I've never been addicted to alcohol either. I liked smoking weed a lot, and that's something I would do every single day, all day, allegedly. So some people would say the opposite. They would be like, oh, I have no problem with weed. I don't really like how it makes me feel. I feel kind of anxious or nervous and paranoid. I don't really like it. It makes me sleepy, or it makes me eat a lot of food, whatever, different kind of outcome. But alcohol is very dangerous for them, and they can't have it in the house or something, So everybody has a kind of a different perspective on what tickles their fancy, so to speak. Okay, so Clyde says that the drug war is a total failure. Thank you for sharing that, Clyde. Josh says it's stupid. I agree with these two gentlemen. Let's see if anyone else has any more. Here we go. Chloe says she thinks it causes more harm than the actual drugs. And this is especially an interesting perspective because Chloe is all the way out in Scotland, and she's also 19 years old. So that's, for her to have that level of awareness, I think potentially can show us a hope for the future. And just like he says here in the subtitle of this book that I'm going to be talking about today, it's the last, not only, he talks about the first days of the war on drugs, but he also says he's talking about the last days of the war on drugs as he's talking about present day. I mean, this book maybe is like 2017, something like that, but pretty relevant, pretty recent. I believe. Actually, okay, it was first published in 2015. This one was published in 2016. So that's actually a little bit longer ago than I thought. But even in here, he was saying, we're in it. We're moving in that general direction. I would like to think that too. It's a game of pin the tail on the bad substance. Seems like there's no war on drugs, really. Organized crime by every country for monies. Yeah, so they talk about how the mafia in history, in one part of history where the drug war was really first, its roots were not its roots, like its roots really, where it was just kind of starting to come into thoughts, into conception. People didn't even think the mafia existed. They thought it was a conspiracy theory. That, oh my God, anyone who thinks it's like probably like the modern day Illuminati or something. Now, I don't know anything about that, whether it's real or it's not real. I have no opinion on that. I don't even really know much at all about it. But that's kind of what people used to, with the mafia, if anyone believed, the mafia, they kind of thought, oh yeah, you're kind of like nutty. That's not really real. But now we know that's very real. And it's a very, very real existing organization, a crime organization that was so deeply entrenched with the government and the authorities at a point that they really could get away with, basically not existing. Illuminati. I know, that orange pill is amazing, isn't it? This was a gift from Duodad that I got, I think just yesterday, actually. Okay, Prohibition documentary from Ken Burns. That one I'm not familiar with. We can't legislate morality. So you're saying that's basically what they're trying to do. So let me I think that's what you're saying, right? Is that's what the war on drug is? You're trying to legislate morality? Perhaps. There's a little bit probably different opinion in here, which I'll get into. Let me just catch up with the comments really quick. I don't find nicotine addictive personally. Same for me. I smoked cigarettes to be cool, basically, for like a year of my life when I was 15. Every day on my walk home from school, I walked with some kids. They smoked cigarettes, so I smoked cigarettes because I thought that was, a cool thing and a grown-up kind of thing to do. My mom used to smoke when I was younger. She doesn't anymore. But anyway, that's some more information you need to know. But as soon as one of my friends was like, I think I want to quit, I was like, yeah, me too, because I didn't really ever enjoy it. I only did it when I was with them, like one cigarette a day, and I wasn't a big fan. So it was no problem. Even after a year of doing it, it was really no problem for me to stop. So. And you say caffeine is very addictive. I don't drink coffee or soda. I've been drinking soda. I've been drinking like some 7-Up lately because it's been in the house, but there's no caffeine in that. That's just a sweet tooth thing. Cobra Guy says Walgreens is a drugstore because it has a whole aisle dedicated to candy drugs. I've seen some pretty amazing things from drugs too. Marijuana pretty much eliminated my friends' kids' seizures. Yeah, absolutely. We had a special guest on here a couple weeks ago, Jim from Chicago, and his daughter and their experience with her seizures and how much cannabis has impacted that in such an amazing way. And most people, I would say, like, I haven't really heard many people being anti-CBD oils and things that work for seizures and for anxiety and all these things, because CBD, I think it's cannabidiol, is the non-hallucinogenic element of the marijuana plant, the cannabis plant. So it doesn't make you feel high. THC, tetrahydro something, I don't know. THC is the active ingredient that makes you feel high off of marijuana. So when you take that out of the equation, most people can't really, or not even that they can't, I would say they would have a hard time doing it, but it seems like people generally don't advocate against that from what I've seen. But again, I only have my own perspective and my own circles that I've hung in, which is why I was really excited to have our guest on today, because he's a Mexican and American, and he's very interested in Mexican drug cartels and how the American drug war affects Mexico. Cobra says sugar is the most devastating drug. There's a lot of, hang on, where's that comment? Oh my God, so many good comments, guys. Who's Ricky Williams? Okay, so Ezekiel said there's a lot of regulated drugs with side effects that do worse. Yeah, you hear those pharmaceuticals. There are some countries where it's illegal to advertise pharmaceuticals on TV, I believe. Is that true? I think that's, let me I'm on a computer. Why don't I just look it up? Is it illegal to advertise pharmaceuticals in any countries? Ricky Williams, the NFL player? I don't know. They said that I was the Ricky Williams of Periscope. Consumer drug advertising is uncommon globally. The United States and New Zealand are the only two countries in the world where direct-to-consumer advertising of prescription drugs is legal. This is from June 2019, and I'm not even sure what source I'm reading this from. GoodRx, GoodScript, how is consumer drug advertising regulated in the United States? So the FDA does have rules. They cannot be false or misleading. They have to present a fair balance of risk and benefit information. They have to include facts that are material to the product's advertised uses, and they have to include a brief summary of every risk described in the product's labeling. So you hear that really fast thing at the end, may cause, heart attack and seizure and vomiting, nausea, diarrhea, blah, 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 all these horrible things that could potentially happen. And the reality with a drug, so one of my friends is a medical doctor, and the way that he kind of sums this up is there is a potential for harm or side effects, negative side effects in any drug. So what the medical professional is expected to do is to weigh the potential risks and benefits of using that drug in their treatment plan. So what is the purpose of the drug, right? Say you have a headache. Okay. So you could take a medication for that because you'll get rid of your headache, so you won't have that anymore. And you have these potential other side effects. Are those potential side effects worse than the headache? You and your doctor have to kind of decide that. You have to be aware of the risks and decide what is worse. Those potential side effects, remember, they're potential. They're usually mostly rare, depending on what ones we're talking about, whereas the thing that you're trying to treat, you're very well aware that you have that situation. Now, headaches do tend to go away if you drink a lot of water, but not all of them, right? Migraine's a little bit different. Okay. Yeah, Josh. Same here. Hi, I'm Lou. I'm addicted to snack shoes. I love you, Lou. Hopefully this is a relatively healthy drug. If it is a drug, hopefully you're not addicted to it, but I'm going to take it as a compliment. All right. So there's no absolute war on drugs, but on people. Yes. Ezekiel, I totally agree. I do want to read this. I know I'm way behind on comments. You want to be on there? Unfinished sentence. Unfurnished sentence. I can put you up there, but you're going to have to wait a few minutes because I'm going to read this thing and then I have to catch up on the comments and I'm probably pretty behind. So John Gaffney says war on drugs is BS. Yes, exactly. Okay, let me read this here. So this is from Chasing the Scream from Johann Hari. And it talks about this guy, Harry Anslinger. And Harry Anslinger was appointed the head of the department. Let me call, what was it exactly called? The Federal Bureau of Narcotics. So he was appointed the founding commissioner. So basically they created a department that was to go against narcotics, namely cocaine and heroin, which were outlawed in 1914. He was appointed the head of the commissioner of this, which was actually a part of the Treasury. So the Federal Bureau of Narcotics was part of the Treasury of the United States federal government. And he was appointed. Now he had recently married a very, very wealthy woman, a woman who was part of one of the wealthiest families in the world. In America, at least, the Mellons. What was her name? Martha Denniston. She was from one of the richest families in America, the Mellons. And he then got this position, assumably because of his new rank in society. So he gets this position, and think of the way this was all mapped out also alongside with alcohol prohibition. So he was appointed the head here in 1930, which I believe made him about I think he was about 30. Maybe he was 32 or so at this age, maybe almost 40, between 30 and 40. I forget what year he was born exactly, but he's an adult at this point. And prohibition had been going on since 1920. So alcohol prohibition ended in 1933. So This was a period in America's history where there was a lot of struggle with chemicals. What do we think about this? You know, chemicals, these types of chemicals, right, these drugs were available pretty freely when someone like Harry Anslinger was born in the late 1800s. So this is like early 1900s, and we're into 1933. They end alcohol prohibition. So there's a lot of turmoil going on legally and in the country about what kind of the same thing we were just saying, like what are the potential risks of having these drugs in existence? How do we handle this? And in 1914, when they illegalized heroin and cocaine, it was like, they made this pledge, like we are going to eradicate these drugs from the face of the earth so that no one will ever have to come into contact with them. No one will ever face the risks of, you know, the potential downsides and side effects of these drugs. And that's there's some good intention there, right? So some people really truly they've seen the horrible effects some of these drugs can have. I saw someone in the chat said that they used to be addicted to heroin. I can't imagine what that must have been like, but you've therefore firsthand seen some of the dark side of the potential dark side for these drugs. So when you see something like that, you want to keep that from happening to other people. You want to protect it. You want to advocate and be kind of an activist against that harmful substance. And I get that, right? Same thing people do with sugar a lot of times. They try to tell everyone, you know, don't use sugar. It's so horrible for you. And we're also personally very addicted to it. And we just kind of don't want to change our lives, even if something might be harming us. And that is the horrible thing of addiction. So some people want to get rid of that entirely. So it's kind of similar to saying, let's get rid of all the sugar in the world. Let's completely eradicate it from the planet so that no one can ever potentially abuse it. Because that's the thing. Sometimes people use drugs and they don't abuse them. That happens very frequently. There's probably people among us right here, right now, who I could say pretty confidently have probably used some amount of drugs sometime, maybe even in the recent past, maybe right now, and are probably not abusing and are possibly not abusing them. We could also have people here right now who are actively abusing drugs and dealing with addiction. So that's why I wanted to open this up to a live stream and see where everybody's coming from, because I only have my own perspective and I like learning from other people's perspectives. So this book had kind of given me some different perspective on where we were at when this drug war started. So there wasn't the drug war yet. This was just I keep forgetting the name of it, the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. And the way that they put this here in this book is that he knew that he was aware of the weakness of his new position. A war on narcotics alone, cocaine and heroin, wasn't enough. They were used only by a tiny minority, and you couldn't keep an entire department alive on such small crumbs. He needed more. So we're seeing here the financial incentive, right? So you can't justify having, or not even the financial, for him, right? This was his job, he wanted job security. And he knew, like, this probably isn't going to be well justified. This could easily get taken out of the government bureaucracy just as easily and swiftly as it appeared. So he needed something more. So he saw some newspapers with headlines like in 1927, which was the New York Times, "Mexican family go insane." It explained, quote, "A widow and her 4 children have been driven insane by eating the marijuana plant, according to doctors who say there is no hope of saving the children's lives and that the mother will be insane for the rest of her life. The mother had no money to buy food, so she decided to eat some marijuana plants that had been growing in their garden. Soon after, neighbors, hearing outbursts of crazed laughter, rushed to the house to find the entire family insane." Now, prior to this, Harry Anslinger himself had actually, I'll quote this as well, insisted that cannabis was not addictive and stated, quote, "There is probably no more absurd fallacy than the claim that it causes violent crime." However, then that was 1927, so it was a few years prior to this. Once he's actually appointed head of the narcotics division, he's thinking differently. Hey, this marijuana thing, it's getting a lot of traction. People are scared of it and there's fear, there's panic. I can capitalize on here. And it's used predominantly, at least he believed it was used predominantly by minority groups, Mexicans and African Americans in particular, and that these two minority groups, also in this time in history, were viewed warily. He basically used this to promote fear of both the drug and the people. So this kind of goes into what you were saying about how it's not a war on drugs, it's a war on people. Absolutely. I mean, stark racism, blatant racism was utilized in the beginning of this drug war. It was not a war on drugs as much as it was a search for job security, importance, relevance, and status in the government of one guy, Harry Anslinger, in general, right? There's obviously a lot of other characters in this show, but I think he's a very interesting and pivotal one. Smoking anything has to be bad for your lungs. Yeah, I would tend to agree with that for sure. That was actually part of the reason I stopped. I thought, if I'm, and I switched to vaping before quitting, but before that, it was like, I'm smoking. There's no way that putting smoke into my soft tissue of my lungs is fine and not going to cause any problems or damage, You're addicted to toes. Oh my God. Excuse me. Eric says, all drugs should be legal, but controlled, much safer. Eric 1318, if you're still here, I completely agree with you. I love you, Leo. Sarah says, don't do drugs, give hugs. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I think this comment totally well personifies my opinion and where I stand on this as well. Yeah, unfinished. Oh, you're still here unfinished. Okay, let me put you up on the screen. Let me find your comment. I gotta get caught up here. But yeah, I agree. I actually do stand in the camp that all drugs should be legal but regulated. And I know I used to be an anarchist, but I still think there should be some type of regulation, whether it's from the government or third parties. We can argue at another time, but the basic belief here is the same. War on what? Drugs. Hey, Scott, how are you? Angela's freezing. Yeah, so I think Android users seem to be having some issues with accessing my broadcast. Is there anyone in here that's using an Android phone that's not having a problem on Periscope? And if you can somehow miraculously hear me and you are having that problem, do you have the same problem on YouTube? Hi, Cher. Hi. Because I'm so far freaking behind on comments right now. I'm trying to catch up here. Ever been to the Mexico-US border? I've been close, but I didn't actually go to the border. Hey, Dave. You're good? You're good on... and Jamie, too. Interesting. Oh, you weren't notified. Oh, I thought you noticed. I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't notice you. Hey, Berto. Yeah, I'm trying to kind of read, like, the very present comments and then also the older comments. Android, yeah. Is that still a problem, Josh? Yeah, all right. So we got Dave and Jamie, product as well, all on Android with no problems. I don't know why. Some people just, when I do my broadcasts like this through StreamYard, they just, for some reason, it's like it doesn't work well for them. Hey, I'm on TV. Hey, Moon. Prohibition exploded the mafia. You mean exploded it? I assume you mean like gave it more power, right? You mean like, or do you mean like it ruined it? Oh my gosh, Gump, his great uncle was a Prohibition beer baron. What is that? Prohibition beer baron. Beer baron, is this the person who owns the bar? Bootleggers and beer barons. Oh, that's a book on Amazon? Well, let me just look up, like, what is a beer baron? I've never heard that term before. Do you guys know this term? Am I out of the loop on this? Somebody who organizes the illegal production and sale of beer during a time of prohibition. That was actually pretty rare, probably more rare than bootleggers. Was it bootleggers the ones who did the liquor? So he talks about this in this book as well. And this goes into the problems with prohibition and criminalization of substances. I think we can all be pretty sure that if these things grow from the ground and anybody, or even if they're made in the kitchen or whatever, the kitchen, wherever they're being created, as long as somebody has the recipe in their head, you're not going to wipe it out from the face of the earth. Okay, you're not going to kill every single person that might know how to do this. There's no way to wipe out the existence of these things in the world. What you can do is monitor them and do your best with them, because when you make it illegal, people still want it and they still have it and they still can make it. So they do. And now they are taking a risk. So then you say, okay, well, I'm going to set these crazy laws. I'm going to have really, really harsh punishments against people who do these things to de-incentivize it, right? We're using psychology here. People won't do it if it's too risky. Well, actually they will. And they will, therefore, they will change their prices of their products in proportion to the amount of risk that they take, also in proportion to the amount of competition they have. So if they have no competition, they can really just exploit and pick any number that they so fancy at any time. You also remove the ability for consumers to know for sure what ingredients and processes were used in the making of these drugs, so that when they consume them, they don't know if they're safe or not. They just know that they want to use it. They can't get it from their doctor, so they're going to get it from some sketchy dude down the street and potentially inject it into their veins and cause some really serious side effects because it was made, carelessly. Because what real risk is there in making a drug carelessly? Because what are you going to do? Go to the police and tell them, oh, I got this heroin and it wasn't very good. Go after them. They made bad heroin. They're hurting people. Well, then you have to admit that you purchased and used heroin, which most people won't do. So now you're creating a really dangerous situation. So even if you have the purest of intentions, there's space for abuse and space for more danger and more harm. I would argue more danger and more harm, considering that back then it was a very small minority of people that use these drugs. And I would argue that that's still the case. But now the quality of the drugs is down from when it used to be regulated by doctors and pharmacies. And even the dosages. So even if the the recipe is off, or the recipe is fine, but the intensity. So that's another thing. If I have to take a lot of risk, I'm going to try to get as much bang for my buck as possible. So rather, if it's alcohol prohibition, we're not going to try to smuggle a bunch of beer, which takes, you have to drink more beer than you do liquor to get drunk and to have the effects, and it takes up more space because it's more liquid. So it's easier, you have more of an incentive to then get liquor because you're getting a lot more bang for your buck. You have more alcohol per liquid than you would with something like beer. So you go ahead and you go with the liquor, so then liquor is more easily available, and liquor is a more intense, concentrated version of alcohol and has, I would say firsthand from my own experiences, much more potential for harmful outcomes and abuse than something like beer. So I've never actually heard of beer barons, and that's pretty cool because they were making beer, which I would argue is like fighting the good fight despite all of the craziness that was going on during that time, and continues to go on now, just with different drugs. Share. Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh, Duodad! Wait, I see Duodad. I'm way behind on comments, guys, so I can kind of see them like as they're coming in, but also I'm catching up from the old school. But yeah, that orange pillow over there is from Duodad. Yes, it's so perfect. I love it so much. Someone just complimented it before you got here too. Thank you so much. I love it. I don't know if you saw my unboxing. I did a broadcast, I think it was just yesterday, where I was like, hey, look what I got in the mail. Yeah, Monday. Yesterday. Yay! Okay. Hi, I'm Moon. I illuminate. Hi, Moon. Cocaine, heroin, and meth is going to always be a problem. What do you mean by problem? Let's dig a little deeper and unpack that a little bit. Or legislate vices. Yeah, so let me jump on this point too. I'll kind of like make my major points, and then I'll be able to get through the comments quicker. It's hard. Sometimes I want to kind of hear from you guys too. As a broadcaster, it's like I want to get on here and I want to say everything that I think, and I assume that a good portion of the audience comes here to see what I think and hear what I have to say. But also you guys want to share and get your input in, and you want me to to share that as well. So I know sometimes I get far behind on the comments because I feel like if I just sit here and read comments, it kind of loses some engagement and potentially even quality of like content that's coming through when it's just me having conversation with a bunch of people. So I know I'm behind on comments, but hopefully the quality of the content is good enough to kind of balance out the fact that I'm missing you for several minutes until I can acknowledge your comment. So yeah, legislating vices. So some people think that drugs are a uniquely human thing, that this is something that humans do. And it is something humans do, but it's not even just humans. It's animals in nature as well. And many of us view humans as different from other animals in nature. And if you are one of those people, then it may surprise you to hear that animals in nature also utilize drugs when given the opportunities when they're under stress. So there was some mongooses. There were 2 mongoose. I don't know the plural version of that word. In an area, I forget what part of the world it was in, but a scientist was doing a study where they were seeing what these mongoose would do if they planted some hallucinogenic type grass. So it was some type of grass or wheat, something that the mongoose, I don't even know what a mongoose looks like, that they eat. And when they would eat the normal grass, they would have the normal effect. When they came across this hallucinogenic grass, they didn't like it, as you could probably imagine. I know this is probably a messed up kind of study. Most people aren't allowed to do studies like this anymore, but it's actually very, very useful, insightful information, because the mongoose would not go and eat the hallucinogenic grass. They learned where it was. They didn't like it. They would stick with the regular grass. Then one day, the mongoose, there was like 2 mongoose lovers, and one of the one mongoose died. And when that mongoose died, the surviving mongoose went over to the hallucinogenic grass and started eating away. And that's really interesting. These types of studies are really, their ethics are questionable, but it's very insightful to show that the mongoose didn't want to just be messed up all the time. The mongoose didn't want to be constantly tripping and confused and disoriented. It wanted to live a pretty sober life. But when it felt stressed out, it wanted to get messed up. It wanted to feel this, whatever, intoxication. Why is that? I think it's pretty basic, right? We're trying to escape the reality without, removing ourselves from reality completely through death. We're trying to alter our reality. Now it looks to be pretty natural, and potentially, why not, you could say it's normal, right? Whether or not it's healthy, it's normal, it's natural, it happens. And is it so bad or wrong? Can you say the mongoose is wrong or unethical for doing that? No, you can't, because you're just like, he was sad, right? It was experiencing some type of stress or trauma and was looking for a way to alleviate that stress. And potentially that worked. Now, I don't think the mongoose, I don't know for sure, the mongoose just kept using it. But when we talk about addictive drugs, hallucinogens are rarely ones that come up. Hallucinogens are not, even from my own alleged personal experience, if you take mushrooms, you're not like the next day like, oh, I'm going to take mushrooms again today. It's not that same kind of addictive habitual thing. It's kind of like you experience, at least in my personal alleged experience, it was more of an aha moment. You have your trip, you have your psychedelic trip, it opens your mind, you think differently about things, and then you want to go back into the world with your new mindset. And maybe you want to do that regularly, like maybe once a year, every few years or something like that, to kind of have this experience. But it's not something where you're like, I need this to get through my daily life and I'm abusing it and using them all the time. I'm always constantly tripping. Am I constantly on acid? Not in my experience. I don't know anyone else like that. Maybe some people have been addicted to stuff like that. Once Duodad tripped for 72 hours straight, allegedly. So a vice, right? Yeah. So if it's just something that is maybe not the best thing that you could do, the healthiest possible option, but you do it, it's natural, and you don't abuse it. You don't continue to do it. You just use it every once in a while. And then we have to think about, okay, so the people who do want to use these substances all day, every day, because I know people too. Now, I've never done cocaine, I've never even seen cocaine, but I know people who have used it and they use it like sparingly, like at a party one night, like, have some fun, whatever. And then that's it. They're not like using it all throughout the day. They're not going home and like using it, waking up in the morning, using it in between lunch and or every night before they go to bed, they need it or something like that. It's like they use it sometimes, pretty rarely. It's like a special treat every so often. Then there's people who cocaine is like their drug of choice and they use it excessively. And you have to kind of look at those people and say, what's going on with those people who seem to be the minority? I would argue, I mean, okay, so we all like dopamine. We all like feeling good. We all like being happy. So we all in some way, you could say we're addicted to our own pleasure. Okay, but outside of that, in terms of drug abuse, okay, so some people might want to say food and sugar included in this, maybe. But in terms of actual like drugs outside of food, let me just say, I would say that's the minority of people. I wouldn't say that most people are addicted to some type of drug. Now, there's the whole element of habit and the amount of pharmaceutical drugs that are prescribed these days, and whether someone is addicted or they are dependent upon it. Whatever the situation is, when somebody feels the need or has the need medically, right? I'm not a doctor, to use drugs every single day. Why is that? Why aren't they comfortable being sober? Why do they feel the need to be intoxicated to escape or alter their reality? Something's probably going on psychologically with them. They're not enjoying their life. They're not feeling good. So they're trying to find something to make them feel good. There's many people like Billie Holiday, who was alive during this same time when Harry Anslinger was creating the whole drug war, basically, and the DEA, and then was targeting Billie Holiday in specific, and her use of heroin. And she was a very successful singer, especially for being a Black female singer at that time and that age. And she used heroin. And it seems to me a pretty shady way that she died. And really, whether or not it was drugs or if it was manipulation of her situation of the drugs and prevention of her potentially even receiving proper medical care, because people weren't often dying from heroin overdoses before prohibition of heroin, because it was from their pharmacist. It was made very carefully and it was regulated. It was dosed out, and they would give it to you and say, here's your heroin bottle, and this is the amount that you take and how often you can take it. Don't exceed this amount, just like you would find on an ibuprofen capsule now, or a case bottle. So people, they knew the amount to use, and it was regulated by their doctor. If they had a bad side effect, they could go to their doctor, they could talk about it. Well, now it's all done in the shadows. Now you can't talk to the police about if you have a bad experience. You can't report it. You can't talk to your doctor, your medical professionals, because everybody's mandated reporters, mandatory reporters. So they have to tell the government if they are aware of some illegal activity that could harm their client or others. So you make it worse, rather than helping and seeing that if there's somebody who's addicted, we need to help them, right? They're sick, basically. They're mentally sick. And that's okay, because we all get physically sick and no one has a problem with that. We all get mentally sick sometimes too. And I think that for the most part, there's a lot of mental illness that can be cured and reversed. For example, if you're mourning over the loss of someone, perhaps you were raped, you can never become unraped. You can never have the person who died come back. So you can't ever undo the trauma and the pain that you've experienced, but you can learn effective tools to manage with your stress and your trauma and your pain in ways that don't harm you further, that are alternatives. And yeah, and I still, it's not like but then there's, of course, just allopathic medicine in general is amazing. Like antibiotics, so awesome. The fact that there are medications that help people with bipolar disorder, with mood stabilization, so that they don't go into extreme levels of mania, and then maybe even some antidepressants to keep them from becoming suicidal in their deepest parts of their depression. So you want to use it as sparingly as possible, and that's what I think doctors, that's their responsibility and what they're supposed to be doing. Now, when it comes to pharmaceutical companies and sales of that, and how that all works and the incentive structure there, I think there's a lot of room for improvement. Now, let me try to catch up because, oh my God, I'm like just talking, not even reading comments. In America, can you go into a store and buy weed, etc.? No, not in my state. In some states, yes, but most states it's only for medical purpose. So you would have to actually have a prescription from your doctor, just like you would with like I have acne medication that I use, and I need a prescription from the doctor for that. So you could get it through potentially. I don't know if CBD is covered through health insurance in some states or not. It's still federally illegal though, so it's like a really weird conflict between state and federal governments. Medical only, my state is legal. There are states that are recreationally legal, that you can actually just go buy it and use it for fun like you could with beer. Excuse me. Oh, there you are, unfinished. Are you still here? There, I put you up on the screen. Big pharmaceutical more dangerous than non-selling on the street. I think it could, there's arguments for both sides, for sure. What kind of drugs? I'm triggered. Oh, banana, let's talk. Let's talk. Hey, Lane, how are you? Oh, all my comments just like, oh my God. Oh my God, I actually lost actual comments. I'm that far behind. Okay, I don't believe a real doctor would say that. They need a better connect. About half the states it's legal for medical use. A handful it's legal for recreational. Half the states is legal. Okay, is that accurate? That sounds good. That sounds probably pretty accurate. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that sounds like a good rough estimate. We're not giving out drugs in this broadcast unless you like knowledge like I do, in which case we got the fix. There were more oxycodone prescriptions in 2016 in Ohio than people living in Ohio. What? Where is that stat from? A guesstimate, yeah. Yes. Hey, Tim, how are you? What kind of drugs? We're talking about all kinds of drugs tonight. The world war on drugs is so weird, and it's not consistent from country to country. So different countries handle it different ways. They're at different, it seems to be pretty much different levels of evolution. Thank you, Lane, for retweeting and inviting. I appreciate that. There's the don't do drugs, give hugs. You're addicted to soda water. I mean, out of all things, I think that's probably not too bad. Know your limits. Maybe. Know your limits is one thing. I don't know, though. It's like, you know, I did salvia like one time, like, and doing it was like, it feels, you're just it's very disorienting. I've never done like crack or heroin or meth. I don't really know what that, I've never even done cocaine. So I don't know really what any of that stuff feels like. But I can, if it's disorienting at all, you might not be aware. Okay, how about alcohol? So alcohol actually, they've done studies and they've determined alcohol is the most dangerous of all drugs because you're most likely to hurt yourself or others when you use that drug to pretty much any other drug, which most people don't view alcohol that way. They view meth and heroin and crack as these horrible things, worse than alcohol. But you're more likely to kill somebody on alcohol than you are on any of those other drugs. Now, you can hurt yourself with pretty much any drug, right? Obviously, with your body, except maybe weed. I don't know. There's so many things. Okay. Okay, I read all those. You haven't been to the Mexican border? They need a real Android phone. You can see the comments? Okay, good. I don't know what that means, Leo. Hey, Captain, how are you? Your great uncle was a troll. You saw a documentary on prohibition. Is that the one someone was talking about earlier? Ken something? Okay, so Chris has the pretty like conventional kind of like governmental perspective here. Prescription good, others bad. Okay, interesting. I personally can't accept that MDMA or marijuana too, but not as much, mushrooms. I've never done LSD. So from my own personal experience, allegedly, MDMA and mushrooms, it just doesn't seem to me like those are extremely harmful and should be illegal more than alcohol should be, like, or nicotine. Nicotine is the drug that is most likely to kill you if you use it. Like, of all the people that use it, it's like almost all of them die from using it more than any other drug. Now, again, proportionately, right? Of course, alcohol is the most dangerous and nicotine's the most likely to kill you because they're legal, right? So they're more easily accessible to people. You could definitely make that argument because I'm not sure how they really skewed the stats in those studies. People always get drugs, yeah. I agree with atheist. I've never done cocaine, so I don't know about that. But he said cocaine, yeah, he said all drugs should be legal and regulated. Take the violence out of the drug trade. Preach it, man. Keep preaching it. I agree. I totally agree. Every major government decision has second and third level repercussions. Yeah, one of the books I just read recently, it's like right over here somewhere. It's called Poor Charlie's Almanac by Charles Munger, and he's a really smart guy, and he's made a lot of money in investing. And he said, people fail to consider, our brains aren't really good at thinking about second and third level repercussions and even out further. So we think about what would the direct consequence be of this choice that I could make. And then we're like, okay, so here's that consequence, here's this consequence, which one would I prefer? But we don't realize that, okay, well, what would be the consequences of the consequence? And then the consequences of the consequences of the consequence. Okay, Juan. So you said you almost got addicted to hydrocodone after a car accident. Yeah, so pain, right? You're trying to not be in pain, so you avoid pain. We avoid pain more quickly than we pursue pleasure. So if I burn you with a fire, you're going to move away from it. If I offer you a cupcake or some sweet, amazing treat, some temptation that you really want, you're more likely to resist that than you are to resist just chilling while being burned. We avoid pain because it's more of a threat to our survival. We view it as like we're protecting ourselves. So in a way, we're trying to protect ourselves when we're using drugs. A lot of times we're trying to keep ourselves from feeling pain. And so I feel like the mental health aspect of people who abuse drugs is much more important than pretty much any other aspect of this. Used to do drugs. Did someone say drugs? Drugs are dumb. I still do, but I used to too. Blue meth is just a fairy tale? I don't know what that is, Bob. All that stuff is harmful. The solution, drink next juice. Yes, agreed. Drugs are neither good nor bad. The associated behavior should be evaluated on their own. Very, very well said. I agree with that as well. Yep. And that's why someone said it's really not a war on drugs, it's a war on people. It's a war on people using drugs or selling drugs or, buying drugs. Mac Truck loves weed. Mongooses. Mongoose? Humans are the wildest animals. Yeah, I'm like a mongoose. Trauma, yes, trauma. Clearly, a dead mongoose was anti-grass and was peer pressuring. And when he died, he's like, okay, I'm free to go get high. Hello, Hayden. Congratulations. What about how some people's brains react negatively to them? Well, then there's usually no threat of abuse, right? So if you use it and you don't like it, you're not going to go start abusing it. You're just going to be like, not for me. So usually I wouldn't think as much of the problem, We're talking about drugs. Coma loves drugs. Okay, so this says drugs kill people. What drugs are you talking about in particular? Wow, good conversation going on here. I love this. Thanks for getting in on this, Lane. Making cocaine legal would eliminate cartel violence around the USA and Mexico. And all the consequences of those. Some people have strokes. Strokes to certain drugs. Oh, you mean like pharmaceutical drugs, or what drugs are you talking about? I'm not really aware of that. Percocets, okay, there's an example. My friends have gotten into an alleged habit of taking acid for a while, but they quit. Yeah. Yeah, well, you can't really function that well on a hallucinogen. Like if you're on acid and you're seeing visuals, you can't really like go drive around and go to work. And so it's not usually, I feel like, as tempting of a drug to use, but I don't know, because I haven't done it a lot. You know, I wouldn't be able to work on alcohol either, but some people do. So I just really think that the whole drug of choice thing has a big merit in this as well. So most people don't have any real, like, who cares if somebody does acid one night at a party like a couple times a year? I do not care, as long as they're not driving around or like jumping out of windows from third story buildings, whatever, you know, like as long as they're being safe. Just like alcohol, right? I don't care if you get drunk every so often, as long as you're not then going to try to drive or like care for your infant or whatever it might be. You don't want to hurt anyone or yourself, but as long as it's not, then I personally don't see any problem with it. And that's usually not what people are arguing against. You know, oh my God, responsible drug use is so horrible. No, nobody's making that argument that responsible drug use is a big problem. What people want to focus on is the people who are abusing the drugs and the negative side effects. And there's this fear based that like you could just become that person. Like you could just become addicted and abusive of drugs unexpectedly, like it could sneak up on you and all of a sudden you're using a drug and not realize it, which is like using that, what did they call it when everyone was like the green madness, reefer madness? Yeah, reefer madness, when everyone was afraid of marijuana. Cocaine is all right allegedly, but better to never do it. Why do you say that? Hi, Phoenix. Speaking of drugs, greetings from Flint, Michigan. Thanks, dear. Are you getting muted tonight? I don't know. Are you? What are you gonna say? Just herbal and a little liquor for you. Yeah, see, like I personally don't think most people are going, oh, that guy, you know, he's got a real problem. I'm not really pointing at him. Oh, he's got a real problem because he has, you know, he smokes weed and has a drink every so often. Carol Baskin. Oh my God. My one friend always had to get cocaine when he drank. I mean, just, yeah, it just depends, right? So imagine that your doctor was like, okay, you know, you can have this amount. Like, you know how the bartender has to cut you off when you've had too many, they've like served you enough? Like, you know, it's nice to have third parties in your corner that are like, listen, I know you want to have a little fun. You like the way this thing makes you feel, but I'm going to help you to make sure that you're not going overboard with it, that you're not getting yourself into a place where your body is in danger of overdosing or whatever it may be, you know, like your doctor, your pharmacist or something. So Brenda said drugs suck. I'm an alcoholic. I quit cocaine years ago. Okay. Yeah, so I find that the people that have been more directly impacted by it, really, it's like, and this is a great example. Hopefully Brenda's okay with me using her as an example of like, so people have this experience and then they just want to protect everyone else from having that same experience, right? I mean, I don't know if you like actively try to protect people, but you know, you wouldn't want other people to have to go through the struggle and the pain and the addiction cycle that you had to go through and still go through. So it makes sense that people would want to be against these drugs, you know, and not want them to be around. But the unfortunate reality is that they are around. So we have to learn how to have a world and a society which can handle having these powerful substances because they aren't going anywhere. There's no way to eradicate them from the earth. The earth grows most of them naturally. If you use drugs, reply. Drugs, it's not food. You need to stop drinking and smoking. Okay, so you said you're an alcoholic, but you're still drinking. Okay. People are addicted to notifications. People are addicted to their phones, to technology. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to figure out what is truly qualifies as an addiction, you know? Cocaine didn't seem very addictive. But again, it's every person is different, I feel like, you know? Tommy. Didn't do drugs for 20 years. I now self-medicate for really bad tinnitus, allegedly. Tinnitus, what alleged drug would work for that? Hypothetically in your hypothetical reality. Any nervous stimulant is bad in the long run. And why do you say that? I'm thinking about microdosing LSD. I heard the benefits are incredible. Sounds interesting to me. I'll do anything once. No, that's not true. I won't do anything once, but I would probably do that. Anyway, allegedly. I don't agree with that. Drugs kill people. Okay, so again, what drugs are you talking about? Then we have this person. I like drugs. A lot of celebrities have died of OD. Yeah, of overdosing of what types of drugs? Right? Because if somebody's suicidal, they can overdose on a prescription drug by not taking it as directed. But some people overdose on drugs because they don't know the dosage, right? So your heroin dealer isn't like, take this much at 8 p.m. and, at 2 times a day, 12 hours apart, take with food. Don't ever take more than this amount. If you accidentally ingest too much, immediately call me and I'm going to help you out. Like that's not the situation that we have. People are dropping dead from that fentanyl. Isn't that what they use to help people get off of heroin, or what am I thinking of? I don't like drugs, but marijuana isn't a drug. It's an herb plant. I mean, a lot of drugs come from plants. Potentially all drugs. Banana says antidepressants help people become suicidal. And how do you figure? Thank you, Jake. I appreciate that. I know I'm so far behind on comments. I'm trying to catch up. Whatever the spelling is. He just died a week ago from fentanyl? Oh my gosh. A lot are made. Made? What do you mean made? Medical weed is a cash grab. Anyone can get a card for almost any reason. Well, that's probably true of a lot of prescribed medications, actually. For example, I went to the doctor. I was having breakouts, right? I said, I have a lot of acne. Can you help me? The dermatologist. She didn't say, what's your lifestyle like? What's your stress levels like? How often do you exercise? What's your diet like? She didn't ask me any of that stuff. Instead, she just gave me antibiotics, like pills. She's like, here, take this. And it will destroy all the bacteria in your body and you will no longer have pimples. And I'm like, yeah, but won't I also not have gut bacteria and I'll probably have a yeast infection? Like, what the hell? I witnessed that firsthand. It's the easy way for them. They're like, you come to me with this problem, I will solve this one particular problem for you and potentially cause a few others. Like, what am I supposed to just take antibiotics forever so that I never get another pimple again? Because my guess is that it probably is related to diet and maybe lifestyle. Probably more so diet or hormonal imbalance, right? Because it usually happens around my time of the month. None of this was important. All you need is lots of antibiotics. Bought a wax pen for a friend and could have bought weed. They always push antibiotics. So you are pro-drugs. I am pro-legalization of drugs. I am not pro-drug use or abuse. I don't really care if somebody wants to use drugs. I'm definitely anti-drug abuse. Obviously. I don't think anyone's like, I'm pro-drug abuse. Like, I want people to be addicted and hurt by drugs. Acid fried my friend's brain because he overused. So why would that happen? What does heavy acid use do to you? I'm curious because I don't know much about acid. Side effects of chronic LSD use. Where am I reading this from? Something called The Canyon? Oh, this is, it looks like a rehab. It can lead to some serious side effects, especially those affecting cognitive function. Powerful hallucinogens may cause extreme cognitive changes in users that may lead to psychosis or flashbacks long after acid use. Persistent psychosis can occur whether you have abused abused LSD once? How is that abuse? Or are a chronic user and you're exposed to the risk every time you use LSD? Therapy can help users cope with confusion associated with experience and side effects of LSD and can help ease the problem with time. Many studies have investigated the relationship between LSD use and schizophrenia. Researchers have found people with a genetic predisposition to schizophrenia experienced a greater psychotic reaction to LSD than others. And that's the thing with genetic switches, is we don't know that we have them oftentimes until it's been switched on, and then you can't often switch it off. Hallucinogen persisting perception disorder. HPPD. It's a disorder that encompasses many possible persistent side effects from chronic LSD use. Flashbacks are periodic effects that come and go, but HPPD produces persistent visual disturbances that look similar to hallucinogenic visuals. That would freak me out. They can change over time. Some people have returned to a normal perception. It is unknown how common that is. Interesting. Interesting. Thanks for sharing that, Cher. Shares. Okay. The crimes and destroyed families, but realize that there would be no crime associated with there would be less crime associated with drugs if they weren't all flat out just illegal, right? So if anyone wants to use them, they're automatically going to be a criminal. Hi, Warmel. How are you? Yeah. You know, I hear stories like this sometimes. I wonder how common that really is. So Kate says she would love smoking marijuana, but the only time she did, the jerk spiked it with something. She said she did it and was not acting normal, even for being on it at all. Why would somebody do that? Why would somebody right? Basically, okay, so here's weed, right? I'm going to give you this weed for 20 bucks. Now I'm going to give it to you for 20 bucks, but I'm going to secretly sneak on some extra drugs and not charge you for them because I would like for you to have a weird experience. It just seems unlikely. Like, why would somebody do that? Unless it was just not weed, right? Like CTNs talking about basically not using it. They always spike it so they don't use all the pot. What do you mean spike it? Yeah, well, there's a lot of different types of weed too, a lot of different strains. Hi, Brent. Hi, Matt. They put in crappy stuff. Like what, though? Like what do they put in there? Some kind of spice concoction? I don't know about that. The strongest pain pill you can get out of the hospital is Tylenol? What? You're punching yourself? Mice food? But that wouldn't get you high. It wouldn't hurt you, right? Hi, E Kappa. I'm good. How are you? Okay. I gotta scroll through because you guys are commenting so fast. I'm like, I can't keep up. Yeah, some people definitely act like they're feeling away, even if they aren't, right? That's something different. Drug therapy versus psychotherapy. I think that the two are often used hand in hand. I'm definitely not anti-drugs, uh, in terms of, like, for mental health. I think that I'm not one way or the other, right? I'm not pro allopathic 100% where I just go, "Oh, you got an issue? You need a drug," right? That's the solution. You must absolutely need a drug. There's no other possible alternative treatment for you. But I'm also not like, you should never take a drug. All drugs are bad. You should never ingest any type of drug at all. I had Lyme disease. If I didn't take antibiotics, I would probably have twitches and seizures at this point because it's a progressive neurological disorder caused by a bacteria. All I have to do is take an antibiotic, and now I'm not going to, have these horrible side effects of Lyme disease that happen in chronic Lyme disease. So yeah, I mean, some drugs are really the pros and cons, right? Like even like some people's arguments for vaccine, right? They're like, well, which is a bigger threat? Which is a bigger risk? I agree with this from Ezekiel. Hayden said facts. Hello, Sisa. How are you? When am I going to bring people in to talk? Are you still here, Hayden? Do you want to come up on the screen? Anything you smoke is bad for lungs. Yep, that makes sense to me. I'd drink if I could too, but all I end up doing is crying. I don't know. Well, you don't. I mean, why use it if you don't have a good reaction? Chemicals sprayed on leaves, not marijuana. Okay, so basically, it's just cheaper than marijuana is why they do that. Drugs and medications are two different gender. Okay. Oh, my pleasure, Ruby. I'm glad that you like it. I love talking about this kind of stuff. I know that's not really Carol Baskin. I know. It still makes me laugh though. Do I use drugs? I use, like I said, my acne. I don't take the antibiotics, but I do use that on my face and like the topical antibiotics for pimples. And then I take it's like an antihistamine at night, some nights when I'm really itchy. Like my feet and my legs sometimes get really itchy. They get dry as I get older. It's a lovely side effect of aging for me, apparently, and maybe a bad diet. But I get like little patches of eczema sometimes. And if I scratch them, it gets way worse. So sometimes at night I take that every like maybe once a week, probably at most. And then in terms of alcohol, I drink alcohol and allegedly, maybe occasionally, would participate in the consumption of marijuana in certain situations and occasions. But that's allegedly because that's illegal. And that's part of what I'm talking about. You can't admit to doing things that are illegal if you're of sound mind. Tony, what the heck? Nothing's wrong with you, Kate. A lot of people cry when they drink alcohol. Alcohol is a depressant. Marijuana makes you anxious. Marijuana makes a lot of people anxious. That's a really common side effect of that. It's like paranoia and anxiety. Royal blue. Josh. I've heard shrooms have great outcomes. I had great outcomes from shrooms, allegedly. Really great outcomes. Snoop Dogg uses and is doing well. I'm just reading through the comments here. Thank you, Gary, for the super hearts. Yeah, you know what? There's a drug I've heard of that I've heard of a bunch of times, but I don't even know anything about it. It's called Kratom. I think it's a mental disease. But I don't know. Have they found genetic markers for it as well? Probably. Kratom is a tropical tree native to Southeast Asia with leaves that contain compounds that can have psychotropic effects. Psychotropic means mind-altering. Kratom is not currently an illegal substance and has been easy to order on the internet. It is sometimes sold as a green powder in packets labeled not for human consumption. It is also sometimes sold as an extract or gum. Kratom sometimes goes by the following names. Okay. Most people take it as a pill, capsule, or extract. Some people chew kratom leaves or brew the dried or powdered leaves as a tea. Sometimes the leaves are smoked or eaten in food. Kratom can cause effects similar to both opioids and stimulants. Two compounds in kratom leaves, mitragynine. Oh, do you guys want to see this on the stream? I forgot I can put this up on the... Okay, here we go. Did that work? No. There we have it. All right. Mitragynine and 7-A-hydroxymitragynine, again, interact with opioid receptors in the brain, producing sedation, pleasure, and decreased pain, especially when users consume large amounts of the plant. Mitragynine also interacts with other receptor systems in the brain to produce stimulant effects. When it's taken in small amounts, users report increased energy, sociability, and alertness instead of sedation. However, kratom can also cause uncomfortable and sometimes dangerous side effects. Nausea, itching, sweating, dry mouth, constipation, increased urination, loss of appetite, seizures, and hallucinations. Symptoms of psychosis have been reported in some users. Withdrawal symptoms might include muscle aches, insomnia, irritability, hostility, aggression, emotional changes, runny nose, and jerky movements. Pretty similar. And this is drugabuse.gov, so I don't know how unbiased it is, but there you go. Sounds great, not. Most to all of my friends have or do drugs, but they're not the typical stereotypes people think of. Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions about this stuff, in my opinion. Did Austin just go live with a broadcast that said, I'm curious, do any women like feet? Chloe, why are you in here? You need to go in there and you need to tell him that the answer is yes, and it's you. I'll pass on twitching. Yeah. Hey, D. He's really curious. How's it going? Methadone, yep. Okay, methadone. So what's fentanyl? A synthetic opioid pain reliever. Approved for treating severe pain, typically advanced cancer pain. High risk for addiction and dependence, can treat severe pain. So basically they're saying like you're about to die from cancer. So we'll give you this thing because even if you get addicted to it, like you don't have that much longer. See what I mean about like weighing pros and cons kind of stuff? Big fan of allergy meds. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like certain things, it is pretty cool. I mean, I'm not 100% naturopathic, and I'm not 100% I'm a yoga teacher, right? So some of you guys, this might be your first time seeing me and you're going, oh my gosh, she doesn't know anything. I'm not pro all drugs, but I'm also not anti all drugs. So it's, you know, I'm not trying to be like overly political and waffly about it, but I've had benefits from both sides of the war, you know? Prescription drugs have way more side effects than Coke. Are you sure? Because if Coke had to tell you all the potential side effects, it would probably be a similar list. That's my guess. Sugar, yeah. You can die from fentanyl. Yeah, sometimes cancer treatments freak me out because it's hard to tell if the person died from the cancer or the treatment, you know? Depending on a nervous stimulant to function increases the dependency on it, even coffee. Yeah, absolutely. Some do make you suicidal. That's true. It's tricky when it's like, yeah, so if you're feeling suicidal, we have these antidepressants, and potential side effects are you might feel suicidal. And it's like, well, how do we know if that's just the drug not working because the person was already suicidal? Or is it that it makes you feel like I remember one time I allegedly did some ecstasy, allegedly, and a few days after that, I even like maybe even after, I felt like weirdly detached from reality. Like I was kind of out of it. So if I had been suicidal at that point, it may have been easier to commit suicide. Like people who use alcohol are much more likely to commit suicide when they're drunk because they aren't really thinking clearly. So what's interesting about drug use, a lot of people are afraid of drug use because they claim, right, you might hurt other people. You're afraid of somebody on drugs, but they're much more likely to hurt themselves. It's the same kind of stigma as mental illness, which is why I think addiction, drug abuse, mental illness all fall into that same category, that people with mental illness, addiction included, are much more likely to hurt themselves than they are to hurt you. They're no more likely to hurt you or other people than the general population. Hey, Jen. So good to see you. It's okay. I don't know why. Some people's connections aren't good in here, but a lot of people's are fine, so I don't really know what's causing that. Say no to edibles. I'm still high from Christmas. This is being streamed live June 9th, if anyone's wondering. People become too comfortable in their brains to finally let go. Wait, what? That's not the job of doctors. What's not? Nexie. Doctor, do you want some weed? And now they do say that. Nervous stimulants lead to compulsive behavior and dependency on them. Not for everybody, though. It's not even OBS, though. That's the thing, it's StreamYard. Antidepressants numb the person so much they're more likely to act on suicidal thoughts. I was never on antidepressants. I was just depressed, and the feeling of numbness was very powerful. Yeah. That's why many people, that's why I cut myself, because I couldn't understand my internal pain. And I was like, well, physical pain makes sense. Yeah, I was very much like numbed. It was, yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to know for sure. I took drugs for depression in my teens. They did make me suicidal. I tried multiple things too. It sucked. Were you suicidal before taking them? Oh my God. No one's going to spike weed and sell it. That's the most stupid thing I've heard. I don't know. I never had that happen to me. But weed nowadays is extremely strong. So you might smoke it or use it and be like, whoa, like I'm having weird side effects. This must be laced with something, but it's actually just like super potent weed. Or it could be some weed is grown with chemicals, probably most. So there's like organically grown weed, which is much less common and more difficult to find. And then there's like chemically grown weed. So potentially some of the fertilizers and chemicals that they use on the plant when making it could potentially cause maybe a different kind of reaction, I would assume. And every body is different. Yeah, and your CBD receptors and everything is different too. Shouldn't be grown with anything. Nothing synthetic, right? So like people will use like certain types of, you can use like organic fertilizers like fish, I don't know, what is it, like crushed up fish or something. They have like high levels of nitrogen. It's like when you're growing plants, NPK is like you want a balance of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Is it K? So you want fertilizers that are rich in that, like chicken manure or whatever, bat guano or something. I don't know which of these things make good fertilizers, but these are like organic fertilizers. So I would say it's okay to use those things, but again, organic. Fish hydrolysate or something like that. Used wine to water weed. Dispensary is best. It's organic. As long as they tell you it is organic, because I would think a lot of that could probably be grown hydroponically in other ways. Grow your own. Yep, just like growing your own food, right? You know what's in it, and making your own food at home, like even just cooking your own meal so you know what's actually in your food. Potassium is K. Thanks, Gabe. Bat guano, gross. Yeah, I mean, poop of many different animals is probably a good fertilizer. Weed is natural, though. Hemp is natural. Because I'm not anti-weed, okay? I smoked weed a lot. I have nothing wrong with people who use weed, but I think you're hard pressed to have that argument that the weed that is currently being used by people in the dispensaries and everywhere is natural. That didn't just naturally grow in the woods. When you had a male and female cannabis plant near each other. They fertilized each other. They became very seeded, and you couldn't get high off of it. It made for a great textile for like clothing and whatever else, but it's not something that was like for intoxication. You have to remove all the males and only have females to even be able to have a THC producing plant. So that's less natural, for everything in the area, like if all the trees, to all be one gender. Actually, trees are hermaphrodites, though. I think that cannabis plants can be hermaphroditic as well. They have both male and female sex organs. I don't know the right word for like pollination. They have like the buds to receive the pollen, and then also they have pollen like sacs also. Seeds are a no-no. Well, that would mean that there was probably a little bit of hermaphroditing going on with the plants. Lane is like, this is ridiculous. I've not done or drank any drugs in a year. Nice job, Ellis. Very impressive. It's nice, isn't it? Being clear-headed, being like, oh, like being sober is actually much more productive. Weed is laced with fentanyl. Not all of it. No, not all of it. And I don't know why people would do that. Why would they put fentanyl into weed? Couldn't they get more money if they sold the fentanyl separately? If I started talking about drugs, I'd be talking all night, but it's a great topic to talk about. Yeah, I know. I have like 30 minutes left, so there's still tons of comments. I'm happy to just do this for the last 30 minutes. Prayers for those who are battling with addiction of drugs. God can deliver them from any addiction. They think they'll make you higher than the next dealer, so you'll come back to them. Interesting perspective, Lane. I like that. That's a good possibility. Yeah. People trying to be more competitive, What are the orange comments? These are just like, as you guys are commenting, I can actually like click them as I'm going through and share them and comment on them with everyone at once. I'm way behind, so they're not really like coming in quite live right now, but I'm trying to give everybody, I want to make sure I'm getting all the perspectives in the order in which they came in, I'm just exercising a ton, enjoying hobbies, earning money, ain't need drugs right now. Ellis, I love that. Exactly. I don't think it's like when what I said the other day when someone's like, oh, girl, you don't need makeup. And it's like, yeah, we know we don't need makeup. We don't need it. We're not like, oh my God, without makeup, what are we going to do? It's like, we want to use it. And I think that, if somebody wants to use drugs, we really have to figure out why that is. Do they want to use drugs because their parents have been raping them for the past however long? Like there's a lot of horrible things that happen in people's lives, and they want to escape the memories and the reality of their lives, and they use drugs to take them away from that situation. So there's a real problem that needs to be dealt with there, and it's not the drugs, in my opinion. Allegedly. What if you admit to something illegal if it's past the statute of limitations? I think you're supposed to be able to do that, but I don't keep track of the statutes of limitations, and they sometimes change, so I just always say allegedly because I feel like that's the best bet. I smoke weed all the time and I still get anxious. Did you have anxiety before smoking? You've never been paranoid on weed? I have been. I've been paranoid that people know that I'm high or that I smell like weed or something like that. Xanax was your drug of choice. Oh, thank you for sharing that, CTN. I'm not familiar with that one either, but I know a lot of people definitely choose that one as well. Like 15 years ago? Yeah, I don't know. Natural medicines, yeah. I don't know why people like Molly so much it's cut. Well, Molly is supposed to not be cut, right? Ecstasy is supposed to be the street version. So Molly is pure MDMA. Never will try Molly. Well, Molly is like a powder. You have to snort it or something, right? Yeah, I never did that either. Although my guess is that it's better than ecstasy as an alternative, Kratom, yo, ask me about it. Okay, Kratom's a shit, like coffee and tea. DMT is dimethyltryptamine, which is a powerful hallucinogen that I believe is released by our own brains when we dream. Is that true? Let me look that up. It's a tryptamine alkaloid, produces an intense psychedelic experience when ingested, and it appears in trace amounts in human blood and urine, suggesting it must be produced within the body. The purpose it serves, however, remains a mystery. No one has managed to identify the source or function of endogenous DMT. They don't know where it comes from. A number of romantic theories have been put forward. The pineal gland is often claimed to be the body's DMT factory, and Strassman popularized the notion that the brain releases large amounts of the compound when we dream and during death, thus explaining the profound imagery we experience when we sleep and supposedly when we enter the white light. Who is this? Strassman? Strassman? Okay. Dr. Ede Fruxka spoke about how DMT has been found to bind to the sigma-1 receptor, which is found throughout the body. This receptor plays a key role in protecting cells from dying when oxygen is low, making room for the argument that DMT may indeed be released in large quantities during death in a last gasp attempt to keep our cells alive, which could potentially provoke the mystical encounters on the border between life and death that are often reported by those who die and are revived. But yeah, they say, but the quantity of DMT found in our blood is nowhere near enough to actually produce any effect. It's pretty much conjecture at this point. Yeah, so it's still very mysterious. Is it similar to shrooms? I don't think so, no. Someone on here does it to wean off opioids. Yeah, I've heard people talk pretty highly about it as an alternative to like stronger drugs like opioids. He found the love of his life. Austin wants, oh my God. Valerian tea. I've never heard of that before. So I'm still catching up on comments here. Yeah, same Cliff. Hi, Camso. Hey, Jen. You use cayenne pepper and it saved your life? Cayenne pepper for what? Hi, Simon. Oh, wow, Ruby. Interesting. You're taking your mom to her doctor to get her off of fentanyl. Oh, okay, okay. Wow, Johnny. Oh my God. Hi, Christopher. Hey. Hey, Ever. Oh my goodness. In a coma? Like an actual coma? In like hospital? StreamYard. If you want to come on the stream, I can show you. It would just be like a very brief thing, of course. But yeah, so it's like this it's a browser-based streaming software that you can use to have guests on your streams. Turmeric. I've heard lots of good things about turmeric. Yeah. Love is the drug you crave. Yeah. Yeah, love is very, very powerful because of the drugs. Just like all drugs, it really what it does to our brains and what it causes, how our brains react to it, is the thing that we're enjoying. So it's really our own brains, in a lot of ways. Hi, Kelly. Oh my gosh, you guys are trolls. Some people get hooked on things others don't. Absolutely, yeah. Fentanyl kills from asphyxiation. Interesting. Wow. Hey, Steele. Drunk friends are entertaining sometimes. Is it hard to talk about your cutting? No, not really. You were suicidal before. So what do you mean when you say that the drug, so you were suicidal, you started taking an antidepressant, and then what makes you think that the antidepressant made you suicidal if you were already suicidal? Your mom was in a coma on life support. She has no memory of anything. Yeah, I used to know a kid that was in a coma for like 2 weeks. Was it 2 weeks or 2 months? Probably 2 weeks. And yeah, it was just like, yeah, he's just a normal person. I just remember being like, that guy was in a coma. Like, what the heck? I can't even imagine what that would be like. The good weed, yeah. Spice, yeah, I never had that happen to me before. No way. You're trolling right now. Is that real, Cliff? Weed honey? Are the bees high? Eamon? Okay, what about medical use? Like, what if, as a therapist, so say I got into as I'm becoming a therapist, what if I had worked with someone who's a psychiatrist who could prescribe medication, and we talked about a certain patient that we were curious about if a hallucinogen, a one-time hallucinogenic trip experience, would potentially help this person in some way. We would be unable to do that. We would be unable to prescribe that. But we could prescribe a whole host of other pharmaceutical drugs that they would be basically expected to take every single day, potentially forever. It's just very confusing. Like, why is that? It's why is it that what seems to be some of the least potentially harmful drug is the most, not the most, but it's treated the same as all of them. Doctors make money to push certain drugs. Yeah, that's supposed to be illegal. Military used LSD. Hey, Carlos. It's weird, right, Ruby? White? White Ruby? Did someone say drugs? We did, Mike. Weed's good for eyesight. Maybe why I have 20/20. I smoked a lot of weed and I have terrible eyesight, so I'm not so sure about that. Is that why they make clones with MJ? Yes, that is why they make clones. Yep. That and for strains too. Because growing from a clone is faster than growing from a seed, because you're growing from when you clone a plant, you cut off a piece of it and you plant that, so it's already partially grown. Whereas with a seed, you have to wait for it to completely grow, like to that stage on its own, and you have to use a chemical to get the plant that you cut off to grow roots. Silly wabbit, exactly. Are chicken not natural? I think chickens are pretty natural. Make clones to reproduce because they're all female. Yes. Yep. Otherwise, you need seeds. And there's only a certain window of time that you can clone it. You're on drugs right now. Okay. I don't smoke anymore, but I wish I could. That's an interesting comment. Why can't you? And why do you wish that you could? That's a really cute picture. Is that your daughter? They want you to think the weed is stronger. Okay, that's pretty much what Lane said too. Ew, Mike. Can you smoke some weed legally? No, I cannot. Chris just comes in. First of all, do you have a Checkers or Rallies near you? I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know what either of those two things are. Some doctors in Jersey make me think of dealers. Interesting. Yeah. I think probably a lot of doctors could be viewed in that light. And it's hard because doctors get a bad rap for writing a lot of scripts. But if, you know, it's good that there are doctors out there who try to, you know, not just peddle whatever's going to make them the most money. They're actually going to try to treat the patient the best way they can and do as little harm as possible. I think it's actually do no harm, the oath that they take. It sounds like a one-off with the fentanyl. Yeah, I would think so, Cliff. Like if you have a bad trip, they're not going to want to come back and buy more from you. So why would you do that? They allow sports gambling. I'm surprised that weed isn't a moneymaker they explored. Oh, it's definitely on that track. The poppy fields are amazing. Yeah. Drug hate in the chat. You want to escape, that's why you use drugs. Yeah. Febreze. Escapism as a solution to a horrible situation doesn't seem sustainable. It's not that it's the correct solution, but that it is not wrong for someone to want to avoid their pain. It's completely natural. It's one of the most natural things. So to say that it's not natural is to me a bit far-fetched. Xanax is for anxiety. Xanax is bad. Finally have a new avatar. Yes! Did you take that picture before you sent it to me, or is that one that you have? Yes. I love it. Xanax sucks. Hate that stuff. Oh, okay. Doesn't it? I've never done it myself, but I've heard from people who've done it. Some people say that it just makes you not care about anything. I think all drugs should be legal 100%. Okay, there's Chris. I would have 0 viewers if I was a man. How do you know I'm not? Weed has no hangover and isn't addictive, and it doesn't make you fat. But smoke going into your lungs isn't good, so maybe like an edible would be a better solution. And edibles supposedly have pretty good health benefits, CBD. So boom, there you go. Edibles don't work for me most of the time, though. Hi, Austin. Are you here for feet? Be honest. Xanax is very good as prescription for anxiety. Yeah, I know a lot of people with anxiety like Xanax a lot. Not care about anything, hence suicide. But Xanax isn't an antidepressant, is it? I think it's for anxiety. What is it considered, Xanax? I looked this up once before, but I forget. It's a sedative. Can cause paranoid or suicidal ideation and impair memory, judgment, and coordination. Combining with other substances, particularly alcohol, can slow breathing and possibly lead to death. Alprazolam. It's a benzo. It's a benzodiazepine, which some people have really, really, really bad reactions to. Joe Rogan loves DMT. Yeah, he's the one who I actually heard say the thing about it being flooded into your brain when you dream and when you die, but it looks like that's actually not substantiated by science. Coffee is great for you. Some people do coffee enemas, like in the Gerson therapy for cancer. Hi, Tracy. How are you? A gland in the brain. Caffeine. Endogenous DMT traces in urine. When I died, it was like DMT allegedly. What? When you died? People say DMT is like being born again. DMT seems way more intense than anything I would want to be exposed to because it's also very short-lived. Hey, oh my God, wait, what was your username before? Sweet Gal, was it? Hi, keep dreaming. Good to see you, Steph. YouTube, Joe Rogan, DMT. I've seen that Joe Rogan talk about that. You keep losing connection, Cliff. Go on YouTube. Guys, if you're having problems on Periscope, go on YouTube and tell me if you're having the same problems over there. What? Where are we? I missed a bunch of comments here. Sometimes it just automatically scrolls past a bunch of comments. So, is weed a drug? Yeah. And I've been good, Steph. How are you? Oh my God. I used to take Prozac and it actually increased my suicidal thoughts. A lot of people are having that experience. That's really, really super messed up. Xanax saved you from several debilitating panic attacks. Yeah, panic disorder. A lot of people struggle with that. Joe Rogan got Elon Musk to smoke weed live on air. Okay, that's kind of awesome. It knocks the person out so hard that if their head falls in a bad position, it blocks their airway and it also stops their wake up reflex. Okay, fentanyl. Interesting. You were hoping for a good story after the month in the coma, yeah. Well, that's like when you take DMT, the hallucinogen. It's similar to a dream, from what I understand. I've never done it, but they say that you like start to forget it very quickly, and you're like, wait, what? What happened? You can't really like conceive it. Might grow shrooms. What about drugs that are detrimental to your health? You think all drugs are detrimental to your health? Look up how natural chickens are. What? You're trolling me. Say no to drugs. It's not legalized in New Jersey. I think it's medically legalized. They allow sports gambling. Sorry, I read that. You know what, Bird Out? There, I pinned it and I unpinned it immediately. Drugs haven't really changed my life, but I am more empathetic and engaged with my kids. Because of drugs? Chicken wing, hot dog and bologna, chicken and macaroni, chilling with my homies. It's bad when abused. Like my brother snorted it. Yeah, some people like to use Xanax recreationally, right? Edibles put you on your butt. I wanted to know if any women like feet, because I don't think it exists. Women with a foot fetish? I don't know. I'll tell you, I like my own feet a lot more than I used to because apparently they're good looking feet. So now I'm like, okay, nice. I look at my feet, I go, yeah, you guys are pretty attractive apparently. Austin loves armpits. Armpits is a thing too. Wish we could smoke weed over here. Need a stress relief. Bad. Oh. Have you tried yoga, meditation, exercise, sex? You probably can't do that. Anyway, benzodiazepines, anxiety, panic attacks, benzodiazepine. Yep, lots of you guys knew that one. 420 in the house. What's up, Joe? These are just kidding. I don't do any, just alcohol. Okay. I took Xanax once, never again. Oh my God, Cliff, is that for real? A liquor enema? I drowned. The world broke down into fractals. It was epic, allegedly. Oh my God. Oh my God, your picture. Look at it. Yoga and meditation is amazing. Yeah. Who's Daniel? Daniel. Men have big, hairy feet. Berto's in love with me. Yeah, I think that's probably true. This is amazing. All the feet scopes tonight. Oh my God. You're Daniel. Oh, hi, Daniel. Hi. Damn, Daniel again with the lame comments. It sounded like you get excited about your own feet. Yeah, is that a thing? I mean, I feel like that's probably not a thing. And I don't get that excited about them. Hopefully this is a little bit of a stress relief for you, Tim. Come and hang out with us a little bit each day. I like having you here. Did you accept the invite to the group, the private group? If you go into groups on Periscope, you should see your invites. This is for anyone. If you're a monthly supporter of this channel, you should, I have invited you, but you may have never accepted it. So feel free to go on in. Hey, Hot Pockets. Wait, is that Matt? Berto makes fan fictions of me and you. Oh my God. That is the best comment you've ever said, Austin. I love you for that. Did I see the video Daniel made of me dancing? What? You made a video of me dancing? I hate feet, but don't ever wear socks in bed, please. Okay, thanks. That's a public service announcement from Kellyanne. You got banned? Matt, stop getting banned. What kind of scopes are you watching? Austin has a private group of feet shows that he scopes on. Did I ever look into CDs? I did, Christopher. The amount that they offer for the certificates of deposit is less than they offer me on my basic savings account. So it's not worth it. You'll Instagram it to me? Yes, thank you. Oh, sorry, Chloe, sorry. Okay, Austin, you send it to me too in case Daniel forgets. Periscope hates freedom of speech. What were you saying? Jameer, just for that, I'm gonna have to sing it one more time. Chicken wing, hot dog and bologna, chicken and macaroni, chilling with my homies. Got any gapes? Wow, I think she means grapes. I take citalopram and Strattera. It's helped a lot. What are those? What are those? Citalopram. Celexa, antidepressant. It's an SSRI to treat major depressive disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, panic disorder, and social phobia. Side effects: nausea, sleepiness, weakness, dizziness, anxiousness, trouble sleeping, sexual problems, sweating. Shaking, hunger, dry mouth, constipation, diarrhea, respiratory infections, yawning. Yawning. And then for children, increased thirst, abnormal increase in muscle movement or agitation, nosebleeds, more frequent urination, heavy menstrual periods, slowed growth rates, and weight changes. Ooh, that's a crazy one. Curious Adventurer, is that you? Oh, that's Austin, isn't it? Okay, I'm almost caught up on comments now. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll surprisingly do not go that well together. No, it's there, Tim. He said he never got it. No, it's there. Like, go into the groups. Go into groups. It's there. It always sits there, just waiting for you to accept it, like everybody else. Not everybody else, but like, there's people who are like, I didn't get the invite, and I'm like, no, it's sitting there. Like, you just have to go retrieve it. You did get it. It's just that Periscope doesn't notify you of it. Please look at my Instagram. Wait, I don't think I have Instagram on this browser. I need to go into my Google Chrome. Desktop for Instagram. Okay, messages. Is this my request? Yes. Image is blurred to protect you from unwanted content. Austin, don't send me a D-pic. What is this? Oh my god. Daniel. Okay, wait. Let me unplug my headphones so that we can enjoy this together here. Oh my god, this is crazy. I'm gonna share my... Oh, I can't share my screen with you guys. You won't see it. You can hear it though. I'm dancing. Yeah, you can't see it though on. I wonder if I like copy and paste this into Firefox, because I can only share my screen on my Firefox browser on here. I don't think it's working. It's like, what is this you're trying to get me to do? And on Chrome, if I try to share my screen, it crashes. Hi, Asif. Hey, Major Cats. Birdo made one too. Wait, there was another one. This is the one Birdo made. I was born to flex, diamonds on my neck. I like more than jets, I like more than sex. But nothing in this world that I like more than checks. Okay, Birdo's is better. I'm sorry, Daniel. I don't really need a penny though. All a bad bitch need is I was born to flex, diamonds on my neck. Okay, that one was way better. Awesome, thank you for the super hearts. I'm sorry, Daniel. I love you. You can draw it so we can get a better idea. I wish I could show it. Can I just get Instagram for desktop on here? Thank you, Asa. Thank you so much. Desktop for Instagram. It's only on Chrome though. It doesn't. They don't have it for Mozilla. Can I put? Oh, can I put on my story? I don't know how to save things from my computer. I'll have to do it. I'll put it on my story when I get a chance, you guys. I don't know. Chip, it's only people, the only people who are having problems are Android users, but not every Android user. Some Android users are not having a problem. I know, I see the words on it, yeah. Patreon? I don't use Patreon. I use something called Super Pay It. So if you click the link in the profile, Patreon takes way too much of the money. I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to pay Patreon. How can you not wear socks unless you're in Florida with this humidity? I'm not wearing socks. Wait, what? Why are we talking about feet? No socks even when it's cold. Gotta have the socks in bed. No, I don't wear socks in bed. No. I mean, sometimes I accidentally do, but I take them off in my sleep. I'm told I need to change my screen name. Okay. Well, you can. Just make sure you let me know it's you when you change your name, Tim. Digs? What are digs? Oh, drugs. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh my God, Birdo. We make memes of you. You guys make memes of me? I love guys' feet, but only cute feet. Oh my God, you guys are there's so much. Okay, Strattera was used for ADHD. Oh yeah, I didn't look that one up. Strattera. Cognition enhancing medication for ADHD. So is it similar to Adderall? Atomoxetine. Stomach upset, nausea, vomiting, constipation, tiredness, loss of appetite and weight loss, dry mouth, dizziness, drowsiness, trouble sleeping, or decrease in sexual ability or desire may occur. In women, menstrual cramps or missed irregular periods may also occur. Is Strattera better than Adderall? It's maybe better tolerated than Adderall, and its main side effects include drowsiness and mild appetite suppression. Both may affect the heart and slow growth rate in children, Adderall probably to a greater extent. Wow. Oxy? I've never used any of these things you guys are talking about. I never did Adderall either. Especially in the rainy season, socks just retain the water. Oh my God, anyone thirsty? No, not after all this wet sock talk. Depends on the person. Constipation seems to be a common theme. Birdo, she said pin this. Birdo, I keep pinning your stuff and immediately unpinning it. Is that Takashi? I don't know, is it? You have curvy toes. You're lying, Ruby. You are lying. Is your cat playing with my hair right now? Come get it. You get it. Sorry, I'm just playing virtually with cats. Yeah. We talked about drugs for almost 2 hours, so we're off. Now it seems like we're all on drugs, potentially. Use Opera. I don't have Opera. I have to download it, I guess, for that. Draw it. How can I draw it? So where's the invite? In groups. Here, I'll show you on my phone. Sorry, that's really loud. Okay. So you have your Periscope, right? You're going to watch this whole thing first before you go try to do it. You're going to get out of here. You're going to go down to this button here. Here, let me take this thing off my screen here. Then from here, you're going to do, yeah, it'll bring you actually automatically to here. Mine was just open from when I was looking at my broadcast before. You're going to go to groups at the top, groups. And then you should see it in there. So I have my settings. If I go into my settings, somebody's going live here. Let me put do not disturb on. Okay, so settings. And then I go to, if you go down to groups. Okay, just kidding. It's not in settings. Where is it? It's in, is it under groups? Hang on. Where is it where I put to automatically accept invites to groups? Settings? Oh yeah, it is under there. Sorry. Yeah, it is under settings. Go down to groups, auto accept group invites. I always have that turned on because then I don't have to worry, like I'll always just automatically accept it. And I always wish everybody else had that setting too, so that they wouldn't miss the invitations to my private Periscope group. But I know some people don't want to auto accept group invites. So I got a fancy phone. Did you see the back of it? It's pretty. My pleasure, Tim. If you want to go try it, I'll stay here while you go check. Ta-da! Flowers. Matches my backpack, kind of. Ta-da! I'm so glad we got through content by 11 tonight because I have to homeschool in the morning. And there'll still be time to play Fortnite. Chloe! What? Show the Instagram videos on your phone. Ooh, yes. Okay. I want to do that. Nice phone. Thank you. Toe juice drugs. Okay, I'm missing a lot of comments, but as I scroll back, I realize it's okay that I miss them and I don't want to see them. So I'm going to stop scrolling back. If you need to repeat your comment, just do that now. All right. She calls it a pack. Oh, that's so cute. That's super cute. Okay, so here's the first one. Oh, wait, no sound. Why is the audio still playing? Oh, crap. Hang on. But Periscope's on in the background. Let me turn that off. Okay, here we go. Okay, so that's one. Okay, thank you, Chloe. I'll pin that. The group is amazing. Okay, this is better though. This is the one Berto made. This is my favorite. Wait. Diamonds on my neck. I like boarding jets. I like more than sex, but nothing in this world that I like more than checks. Money. All I really want to see is money. I don't really need a D, I need the money. All a bad bitch need is money. I was born to flex. Yes. Diamonds on my neck. I like boarding jets. I like more than sex, but nothing in this world that I like more than checks. Money. All I really want to see is money. I don't really need a D, I need the money. All a bad bitch need is money. I was born to flex. There you go. I showed them. Now I want to post them too. Midnight Space. It almost looked like an Instagram story. They were just like using a video and putting a music over the top of it. I can't put music on my Instagram stories, which is weird. I like that you made it orange too. No, hey. What? I want to let me change the color. There we go. So that's what I'll put on my Instagram story. And Facebook story. How many views did I get with that video? What, the shooting off the cash cannon? I do that all the time. I don't know. Hey, Butter. Yeah, we totally stopped talking about drugs. Here's the thing. I'm a live streamer. I go live every single day, 7 days a week for 3 hours a day. We've been live for more than 3 hours today. And by the end of the 3 hours, we're very rarely still on the same subject that we started on. I love you, Tim. I love the way that you put that. I'll see you later. So I'm gonna do a quick recap. We talked about the history of the drug war. We talked about Harry Anslinger and the Treasury's Division of Narcotics that he kind of started and that morphed into the DEA. We talked about alcohol prohibition. We talked about the drug war. We talked about what we thought about the drug war. We talked about potential alternatives to the drug war. We talked about allopathic drugs like the Western medicines and pharmaceutical drugs and Eastern drugs and medicines, as well as like the Eastern naturopathic type systems that don't involve drugs. And we kind of talked about pros and cons from all of those. We talked about specific drugs. We talked about addiction and mental illness. And yeah, but it's just a moment in time with Taylor. You got it, Michael. It's a moment in time. We talked about feet. Okay, that's true too. The FDA sucks. Everything's too expensive. Okay, I love you guys. I'm done talking about this. It's been 2 hours. I love you very much. I'm glad that you guys were here. Thank you for the super hearts. Hang on, I got to use my phone for that. Let's see. Where am I? Oh, there I am. I've been live for a long time. Ooh. All right. Thank you. 10,000 super hearts. Thank you. Thank you, Chloe, top contributor. You're going to get a shout out first week of July. I do shout out the top super heart contributor from every single broadcast throughout the month at the end of the month, first week of the following month. Bye, Annie. Thanks for being here. I love your comment about love, by the way. Midnight. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Asif. Thank you, Gary. And thank you, Cher, for the super hearts. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you to everyone that makes this channel possible. Can't say thank you enough. I hope to see you on the next juice. This has been A Moment in Time with Taylor.